Okay, so we're going to start with our workshop. Today we are going to start working with assessment for learning with ICT. Our workshop is called Enhancing Assessment for Learning with ICTs. And we started with an entry ticket. And I would like to share the results of the entry ticket. And let's see, can you see my screen? I can see
Yes.
that 45, okay, 45 participants completed the entry ticket. They were just questions about choosing one option or the other related to funny things, okay? Would you rather be a giant insect or a tiny elephant? Okay, 50, almost 60% of the participants 60% wrote that they or chose that they would be a tiny elephant. Okay, more than a giant insect. Okay, it's like it's quite cute, the elephant that is in the picture. Okay, thanks. Now in number 2, we have that 61% would like to see the future. Okay, okay, more people would like to see the future than change the past. Okay, excellent. And in the third question, 66% of participants would like to be a superhero instead of having a robot to do whatever they want. Okay, that's great. Let's see, the following question is about eating salad or hamburgers. Okay, most people here is healthy, it seems. Okay, 78% would rather eat salad every day for dinner. That's great. Just a small portion would eat hamburgers every day if they could. Okay, and the following question was about traveling to another planet or make an invention. And most people chose, or the majority of people chose, to make an invention. Excellent. And the last question was about being a cactus or a bee. And okay, most participants would prefer to be a bee instead of a cactus. Yes, because bees can fly. Yes, they can move instead of a cactus. Okay, thanks for participating in this entry ticket. And we are going to start our workshop for today. We have many activities to do. And we are going to start with another activity, interactive activity, and you are going to write in the chat box on the scale of a SpongeBob, how do you feel to start the class? Number 1, ready to start. Number 2, exhausted, because I have been working the whole week. Or number 3, surprise me. Okay, so write in the chat box. I'm going to check the chat box. What you write, the numbers. Okay, quickly write. Some people wrote 3, 1, 2. Some people are exhausted. And number 1, 2, 3. Okay, very good. Okay, most participants wrote 3 and 2. Okay, I hope that we can surprise you and motivate you. Okay, in a Saturday morning, imagine connecting at this time after working the whole week. I'm sure that you work the whole week as every teacher does here in Argentina. Okay, so ready to start? Let's start with the agenda. Okay, before the agenda, we are going to start with a Mentimeter because we would like to know what you know about assessment. My colleagues are going to share the link in the chat box and also in the WhatsApp group. We can also use the WhatsApp group. Yes. And I'm going to change my screen because I'm going to, if you want to scan the code, I will show you my Mentimeter screen so that you can scan the code. Okay, I see that you are just entering. There you have the instructions. You can also enter to the web page and write the code that you have on the screen, or you can scan the code, or you can enter through the chat. Okay, and once I activate the Mentimeter, you are going to start answering the question. There are only 2 questions that you are going to answer. Okay, thanks for sharing the link also in the WhatsApp group. So you have different options to enter to the activity. Okay, good. We are now 73 participants, and I have 11 participants in the Mentimeter. Maybe if you have them, when you enter, you have the thumbs up, the icon, and click there so that I know that most of you are in the Mentimeter. Okay, thank you. Good. Thanks. Okay, so we are going to start with the first question, and it's a word cloud. It's a brainstorming activity. Oh, you have already started. Okay, so what types of assessment procedures do you carry out at school? Okay, you're writing many terms related to assessment. Excellent. So you wrote formative. Excellent. That is the one that you wrote the most. The one that appears in a bigger size. Formative. Okay, and that's connected with assessment for learning. Summative. Diagnostic. Good. Process. Okay, process is connected with formative. Attitudinal. Observation. Evaluation. Portfolios. Okay, so you also wrote instruments that you use for assessment: quizzes, self-assessment, oral productions, oral lessons, games. Okay, good. You can also use games to evaluate students, quizzes, peer assessment, multiple means of assessment, rubrics. Good. We are going to talk about the rubrics today. Skill, quizzes. Okay, excellent. Written test. It's a nice word cloud. Okay, so the word that stands out is formative, and it seems that that's one of the most important aspects of assessment, okay, that gives us data, important data about students' learning process. Okay, let's continue with the second question. Thanks for answering. Okay, and we already have many answers here. Yes, this is an open question, and the question is about giving feedback. How do you give feedback to students? Okay, written feedback, notes, one by one, okay, through grades and comments. You give them a mark in groups and individually, so you wrote many types of ways of giving feedback: oral and written, group checking, personally, individually, and orally, through a mark, talking to them, orally, assessment reads, okay, oral feedback, individual, general considerations in public, specific things to improve in private. Okay, I think that's appropriate. Formative, summative, oral feedback. Orally, I sometimes use the traffic lights. I like that, to ask them about what do they know, or we check some mistakes. Okay, chatting about mistakes. Okay, working with mistakes, that's important. Memes, yes, okay, that's a funny way to give feedback. Rubrics, production, using some phrases, using memes. I give it every time I have the chance after an oral lesson or when students read aloud. Very good. I write some feedback at the end of the test or orally. Oral feedback or small notes on the folder, personally, individually. Thanks for your answers. For written, I use stickers. Okay, good. Stamps and brief recommendations. Okay, so your peer feedback, that's also important to work with peer assessment. First, I give feedback to the whole class and then individually to each student. Excellent. Okay, and today we are going to work with feedback also, positive feedback, because that's a key element of assessment for learning. Okay, so thanks for participating. I'm going to go back to the presentation and we're going to, I'm going to present the topics that we are going to deal with today. Okay, so first we are going to review types of assessment. Then we are going to work with the differences between assessment for learning and assessment of learning. After that, we are going to discuss about the benefits and challenges of assessment for learning. And then we are going to present or to talk about how to put that assessment for learning into action. Then we are going to have a break time to have tea, coffee, mate. And then we are going to start with a key element that is giving feedback, different types of giving effective feedback. And then we are going to work in breakout rooms. We are going to work in groups, and we are going to share what you have talked, what you have discussed in the breakout rooms. And at the end of the meeting, as you know, we are going to share an exit ticket and the attendance form so that you register your attendance. And if you need a certificate, you will get your certificate as usual, okay? And if you have questions about the course or about the assessment or the activities that you have to do or the campus, we are going to have some minutes to answer those questions. Okay, so ready to start? Okay, so we are going to start with types of assessment, just reviewing because I know that you know about this. We are going to review, and you wrote many terms in the Mentimeter related to types of assessment. And let's see the one that I chose to, okay, formal assessment. When do you use formal assessment? You can answer and give me ideas, write ideas on the chat box. I'm going to check the chat box. Okay, what is formal assessment? When do you assess formally? Yes, just write it, your ideas in the chat. Preparing for international exams. Okay, good. That's a kind of formal assessment. Very good. International exams. Okay. At school, do you assess formally at school? In the school where you work, do you need to assess formally students? To make reports for authorities, great. Okay, so we need formal assessment, written tests, term tests, cuatrimestrales, trimestrales. Great. Okay, so those are instances where we apply formal assessment, okay, through term tests. Can we assess formally through other types of instruments? For example, a presentation, an oral presentation. Can we use an oral presentation as a kind of formal assessment? Okay, someone says yes. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. So formal assessment means that is related to the way in which we are going to get a formal grade, for example, to the authorities or to give feedback to parents or to students. Okay, so it's not only through written tests that we can do that. We can do that through projects or presentations, through many other instruments. Okay, thanks. Now, the second type of assessment is the opposite, informal assessment. When do you carry out informal assessment? Can you tell me when? When do you carry out informal assessment? Monitoring, okay, great. While you monitor, you carry out informal assessment. Okay, more ideas about informal assessment? Maybe after doing a task and we check it, of course. Yes. All the time, I like that, all the time, every class. every class, in a reading session, when brainstorming, all the time. I agree with you. Yes, we assess all the time. Teachers are assessing all the time students, students' participation, the linguistic aspect. Okay, great, very good. Okay, let's continue with formative assessment. Formative assessment can be, is like a synonym of which type of assessment? A process, very good. Formative assessment is connected with the process, with the students' learning process. Excellent. And we can use different types of instruments. Which instruments would you use or do you use to carry out formative assessment? What type of activities or instruments? Rubrics, okay, great. You can use rubrics, games, okay, because through games we can see if students are progressing, are learning. Our seguimiento sheets, yes, very good. Games, interactive assessment, very good for interacting with the students so that we check if they have understood, if they are using what we are teaching them. Okay, here you have entry or exit tickets. Excellent in terms of the educational law, portfolios, thanks. Now let's continue with the summative. Summative, when do you assess, when do you use this type of assessment? Summative assessment. Trimestrales, okay. Final exams, okay. There are instruments that are used, term exam, end of term exams that are used to carry out summative assessment at the end of a unit, for example, through achievement tests. Excellent. Okay, and then we can also carry out self and peer assessment. Can you tell me advantages of this type of assessment, self and peer assessment? Advantages of using self and peer assessment. Cooperative work, excellent. Students can work cooperatively. Students don't feel exposed, excellent. Students learn from each other, okay. Thanks for participating. Unconscious for students. And you can help weak students, okay, with peer assessment. Self-assessment is more meaningful. Excellent. So through self-assessment, we can make students become more autonomous, okay? Also through peer assessment, excellent. So they can control of their learning process. They feel more secure. Okay, thanks for your ideas. So here we have different types of assessment. And let's see the last one that I included. Alternatives in assessment. Okay, what do you think are examples of alternatives in assessment? Some ideas that you write in the chat. How do you, can you tell me examples of types of alternatives in assessment? Portfolio, great. Project work, they are types of instruments that fall into this category, alternatives in assessment, because we sometimes we stick to written tests or oral exams, and we have other alternatives. That's why these types of assessment procedures are called alternatives in assessment. Another type of assessment, you mentioned portfolios. Okay, the ones that are not the traditional ones, okay, we can find an antonym of alternative could be traditional assessment. English end of the year displays, okay, the exhibitions that we carry out and we write a mark, we give a mark to that, concept maps, project-based assignments, muestras or exhibitions. Yes, great. So there are types of alternatives in assessment, and also observation. Observation is another type of or is another alternative that we can use to assess students in a formative way, for example, and also conferences, okay? Conferences, for example, if students develop or create a portfolio of their works along the year, of written works, for example, and then they present the portfolio, and we have an interview with that student, asking the student the progress that they made throughout the portfolio, for example, and that's called the conference, okay? So alternatives in assessment, some instruments can be projects, portfolios, observation, and conferences, okay? And exhibitions, as you have mentioned in the chat. Okay, and I would like to share this idea, this concept of that informal assessment can be divided into linguistic and non-linguistic factors. I took this picture from this chart from the book called Assessment, written by Harris and McCann. And I like this chart or the idea to divide linguistic from non-linguistic factors, because sometimes we take into account non-linguistic factors. Yes, non-linguistic factors such as, you have some examples here, attitude, effort, participation in class, because they are important aspects of classroom life, of our lessons, group work, organization of work, presentation of work, punctuality, and you can add more non-linguistic factors. And when we talk about linguistic factors, they are all the factors that are related to the language, to the 4 skills, to vocabulary, and to grammar. And I like this chart because you can decide what you are going to do with a specific group of students, or in a year, or in a course, and you are going to decide, okay, what type of mark you're going to assign to each of these aspects. For example, for participation in class, you may decide to get an overall impression of the students' participation in class, or you decide to give a specific mark to that aspect, to that non-linguistic factor, because you think that that's very important. So that's important to consider before you start a unit or a course, and decide on this aspect. And if you want to add more factors or reduce the number of factors. And it is also important to communicate these to students so that students know what you are going to assess. That you are going to assess what they do related to English, and also what they do in the class. If they participate, if they show effort, if they like working in groups, and if they work properly in groups, how they organize their folder, for example, the presentation of works, punctuality, participation or behavior in class. Okay, so that's something that we should bear in mind, okay? And now let's continue with, so up to now we have reviewed types of assessment. And now we are going to start with assessment for learning. And Miss Cristina is going to deal with this topic. Miss Cristina, do you want me to pass the slides?
Okay, thank you, Miss Alba. That's right. Okay. Now we're going to focus on assessment for learning. Have you ever heard about this term? I would like you to share yes or no on the chat box. Have you ever heard about assessment for learning? Just sharing the chat box, yes or no? No? Okay, nope. Yes, that's right. Okay, yes, very good. There we have a yes. Okay, that's right. Good. I just read in the chat box. Good. Great. So, no, that's right. But I will say that do not worry, because you already know this term, okay? And I'm going to explain you why. This term has been used since 1990s, and it's also known as formative assessment. So you know what formative assessment is. So you know that this type of assessment involves more than just taking tests and giving grades. It's part of a good pedagogy, not just something that happens at the end of the course or the school year. The assessment for learning focuses on what learners, our students, know and can do, making clear the learning to be achieved, and providing feedback on how to reach the required standard. This assessment for learning is part of everyday practice by students and also by teachers that seeks and reflects and responds to information from a dialogue, demonstration, and observation in ways that enhance ongoing learning. In the next slide, we are going to share with you. Can you, Miss Alba, go to the next one? I'm going to share with you the difference between assessment for learning versus assessment of learning. So as we mentioned before, assessment for learning is a formative assessment. It's going to be informal, and you are going to do it during the learning process. On the contrary, the assessment of learning is called or is known as a summative assessment. It has to be formal, and you're going to get the results of the learning outcome. So you can see the difference now. And I'm sure that you already know this term or the other way. Yes. So it's important that start working on these new terms. Yes. To put in practice in our classrooms. Thank you, Miss Alba.
Thanks, Ms. Cristina. Okay, so we are going to start dealing with benefits and challenges of assessment for learning. And I would like that you write some ideas about the benefits and challenges that you think that assessment for learning has, okay? So what are the benefits and challenges of assessment for learning? Now that you know that is similar to assessment, to formative assessment. Okay, what do you think are the benefits and challenges? Okay, someone wrote benefit, precise, good. Challenge, timing. Okay, that's a challenge. Very good. Okay, thanks. Other ideas about benefits or challenges about assessment for learning? You can write in the chat ideas related to benefits and challenges. Some more ideas, okay. So let's continue with some benefits of assessment for learning. For example, for learners, they can get a deeper understanding of what is being learned, okay, through assessment for learning. And we can increase motivation and commitment to learning, and they can become more autonomous. For teachers, it supports two-way communication with learners because we use feedback with the students throughout the process. And we can appreciate this type of assessment because it makes us reflect. It can make our practices more reflected because we need to assess all the time, and also we have to become conscious about that. And when we carry out these types of assessment procedures, a key element is to reflect on our experience. Because sometimes throughout our day by day, we just rush out from one work to another, from one school to other. But it's important to have after each class some minutes of reflection. Yes, just thinking, okay, what did I do well? What did I do wrong? What can I change? And in that way, we can improve our teaching practices through reflection. Okay, and what are the challenges? Okay, there may be lack of clarity related to test results that are only used formatively because some students, or there is a lack of communication with the students, and students think that test results are definite and they don't have a formative goal in the learning process. And how can we make that formative or those tests become formative? Through the analysis of mistakes or common mistakes that you have found, and you have mentioned that you work with mistakes and you work with the whole class. That's a way to use test results in a formative way. Another issue related to lack of clarity is that test performances are not analyzed formatively to diagnose areas of weakness. That's related to what I have already mentioned and described about the analysis of errors or common errors that you present, for example, to the whole class in the board, and you don't say, okay, you did that, or you don't spot the student who did that, of course, in order not to expose them. Okay, another challenge is related to classroom practices. Teachers should be open to trying out new practices, okay? Trying out new things so that we improve our classroom practice. That's one of the challenges of this type of assessment. And students are required to have a more active role in the class. That's another challenge, because we are going to use different types of activities and we are going to make them work with the feedback that we give them. That's the idea, that they become more active in that aspect of classroom, that is assessment. Sometimes I think that we are only in charge of assessing, and they are also in charge of assessing the content, assessing their classmates, assessing the process, their own process of learning, and assessing the teacher also. Okay, so let's continue with putting assessment for learning into action. Ms. Cristina.
Yes, that's right. And how are we going to put assessment for learning into action? And the key word here, as you can see in the diagram in the center of this diagram, the feedback. In order to give effective feedback, there are 3 key classroom practices which encourages students to engage with the feedback they receive. One of them, as you can see on the diagram, is the diagnostics. That we know it is the way to find out where the learners are in their learning. Yes, we already know that. And as a second key, we can refer to the learning intention. That refers specifically just directly with the objectives. That is to make clear what is being learned and why. And the other thing that we have to pay attention is to the success criteria. That is to clarify the performance we would like and the results of this learning. So it's really important to go deeper in order to understand this type of assessment and how they can be developed in ways that make teaching and also learning more effective in our classrooms, okay? So let's go deeper, Ms. Alba. Let's start with diagnostics.
Okay, thanks. So we are going to start dealing with the 3 aspects connected with assessment for learning. In this way, I think that we can systematize the process of assessment for learning, because sometimes we say, okay, formative assessment is more or less the same as assessment for learning, but here we have a clear diagram, a clear construct that we can use in order to systematize formative assessment, that is divided into diagnostics, learning intentions, and success criteria. And the core of this kind of assessment is feedback. Okay, so let's start with diagnostics. How important is diagnostic? A key element in diagnostics is classroom dialogue. Okay, why classroom dialogue? See, one of the aspects of classroom dialogue is dealing with wrong answers. Okay, what do you do when you have wrong answers from your students? You can write some ideas in the chat. What do you do when you have to deal with wrong answers, with the students' wrong answers during an oral presentation or during an activity, interaction? Yes. The everyday interaction that you have with the students when you present a topic, when you practice the topic. I capitalize them, we solve, correct them together. Okay, excellent, I like that. Very good. Capitalizing on wrong answers, that's great. Correct them, okay. I don't correct directly in that moment. Okay, it depends also on the objective of the activity. Sometimes if it is fluency, we know that we shouldn't stop students every time that they make a mistake. And we should, it depends on the activity. Very good, you wrote that. But later, after all, I think it depends on the task, but sometimes I make them think of the mistake and see if they can spot the mistake and correct them. Very good. It depends. Sometimes with the oral test, I take notes and give feedback at the end, guide them to the correct one in a subtle way. Excellent. So they are good ways to deal with wrong answers, making students reflect about that. Maybe if it is an activity which is focused or on accuracy, so we should correct the mistake right away, or let's say don't correct, but make students spot or make them notice that there was a mistake and asking them how they can solve that. Yes. Okay, some of you wrote that, and that's the difference between correcting versus diagnosing. So we diagnose that there are wrong answers and we tell them, okay, notice that there is some error here, a mistake. And so we have to enable students to correct that. Yes, so they should be in charge most of the times of correcting that mistake. Excellent. So in that way, they are going to become aware of the errors. Okay, another strategy that is related to diagnostics is asking questions to elicit deeper understanding. Okay, so how do you do that? So through higher order thinking skills, not only asking the what, but also asking them the how. How would you correct that in a writing activity, for example, or after a presentation? How would you do that? How would you correct that? And why do you have to do that? Why do you think that I underlined the sentence or I wrote that the organization, that you should improve organization? So you have to make students aware of the mistakes, but also making them the right questions, the how and the why questions, asking questions to elicit deeper understanding. Another element of classroom dialogue is wait time. Tell me, okay, how much time do you wait? For example, you make a question, and how much time do you wait? Seconds, minutes, can you tell me? Have you checked that? You can write in the box some ideas about wait time. 10 or 15 seconds. Okay, great. Seconds. Yes, sometimes we're like, we don't like waiting. And sometimes we don't give students time to think about what we are asking them. 10 seconds, okay. And I think that that's very important, because sometimes if we don't give, it depends also on the type of class, the types of students that we have, the level of the students. But you know that we always have those risk takers and the ones that always participate, that are quicker than other students. And sometimes you go with the quickest one. And we have to include everyone. So how can we deal with wait time? We can ask a question and we can give them 30 seconds to answer that questions in pairs, for example. So give students thinking time and use the think, pair, share technique. That's also a great technique that you can use. Okay, you watch a video and then you ask, okay, what do you think about the video? No, give them time. Okay, now you have 2 minutes to share your ideas about the video or answer the question. 1 minute, it depends, with your partner on the right or with the partner that you have at the back. Okay, so that's something, that is strategy, a very useful strategy that we can use in our classes. Think about when you come back on Monday, think about wait time. Yes, we have to give students, allow students time to think about the answers. Okay, and another element of classroom language is encouraging learners to ask questions, because we are always asking questions, but students are not asking, are answering the questions. That can improve, of course, autonomy, but also the ability to ask the correct questions and in the correct way, okay? Because sometimes they struggle with the structure of questions, okay? So what do you think about this? Encouraging learners to ask questions, because we are always asking questions. In that, we can, for example, after dealing with a topic, with a reading activity, we are not giving them the questions and they have to write the questions, okay? In that way, they can ask the question. So think about introducing, if you haven't, introducing activities where students have to ask the questions. Maybe one group to another group, in pairs, or a pair to another pair. Use exit tickets or exit questions at the end of the class or at the beginning of the class. And those questions, if you are dealing with a self-assessment, you can use L1. Why not? It depends on the level of the students. The important thing is that they improve their self-assessment procedures, okay? There's the self-assessment that they need in order to become autonomous. Okay, so diagnostics is about classroom language, classroom dialogue, dealing with wrong answers, asking questions to elicit deeper understanding, wait time, and encouraging learners to ask questions. So these are tools that we can use to diagnose what students know or what students are learning. Now, the second, do you remember what the second element of assessment for learning is?
Learning objective or something like that.
Okay, yes, it was about learning and about objectives. Good. Learning intentions, you wrote in the chat. Excellent. Yes, learning intentions. Okay. And, okay, I have some examples of entry tickets before working with learning intentions. I'm going, and in this class, this workshop, before we started with the whole presentations, we started with an entry ticket. An entry ticket that you created in a Google form, a very simple tool to use with pictures, and it was just to a warm-up activity. Yes, an icebreaker activity, so that you start, you get ready for the workshop. And I would like to share this video with you about entry tickets, how this teacher uses entry tickets. So let's see if you can listen. Can you listen?
Yes.
Okay, great.
An entry ticket is a short question that I give to my students upon entering classroom. As I greet my students, I hand them over the entry ticket, and it gets them thinking about what we'll be discussing in class. I love entry tickets because they give me the opportunity to directly assess what my students are thinking and what they're learning. With an entry ticket, I'm able to pick those up and look at them while the students are going through the class and while they're learning and while we're discussing, so that I'm able to answer those questions that those students may have. Students like entry tickets because they're able to work independently, but they're able to really get what they're thinking about down on paper and get my immediate feedback.
Have you ever used entry tickets in your classes? Can you tell me in the chat box if you have ever used entry tickets? They are different from warm-up activities, okay? No, okay, good. Most of you never. Okay, so this is one of the tools that you can use in order to make students or get students prepared for the lessons. They are also called bell ringers or do nows. They have three terms: entry tickets, bell ringers, because it's the activity that they do once they enter to the classroom, and that's a good way to prepare them for the activities that they are going to do. Because sometimes we wait students, some students come come early to the class, and they have to wait until the others come, and you wait for the others in order to start. So this is a very good activity, or an activity that get them prepared for the lesson, or as a kind of warm-up activity. You can use it for a revision, for example, and you can use a QR code if you are going to use a digital tool, or you can use an entry ticket in a piece of paper, for example. So they know that once they enter, they have to do something. That's important. That's why we started with an entry ticket as an example. Okay, that's a good way to start an activity or the lesson, the class. Okay, another way to start the class, or once you start with the class, present the topic, and is using this chart. This is called the KWL chart. You can work or make students complete the chart in a digital form, for example, in a Padlet or in a collaborative board, and they have to write. So you tell them that they are going to start working with a specific topic, and you ask them what they know about the topic. In the first column, they have to write what they know, and in the second column, what they want to learn about the topic. So in that way, you make them reflect about what they are going to learn and what they know about the topic. In that way, you are resorting to students' previous knowledge. And at the end of the class, they have to complete the last section of the chart, the what I learned section. I think that these tools are very important to use so that they start taking an active role in the process of learning. Have you ever used this KWL chart? Yes, okay, you wrote yes, excellent. So if you haven't, so start using it. It's a good way to start the class, to start dealing with the topic. Very good, and they can do it on the folder, offline or online. It depends what is more practical to you. Even in L1, excellent. Yes, why not? Why not? Okay, depends on the level. Okay, many of you have used it. Excellent. Okay, so another. Yes, that's called the KWL chart. I'm going to show you other examples of entry tickets and exit tickets. This is an exit ticket. So you can use it with them. You need a die or a digital. Yes, a digital one. I have here the link if my colleagues are going to share the link of these dice on the chat. And how can you use that? So you can project the options, the numbers you have here. You can project the options in the, okay, I'm going to show you the dice. You can project the image, or you can show that or write that on the board as you wish. And if we open this die, you can make them roll it or use a physical one, and according to the number they get, they have to answer the questions in pairs, in groups. This is meant to be used, or the questions are meant to be used in the at the end of the class. For example, you can roll it. Okay, so we got number 3, and question number 3 is, did you learn something new? What? And they have to answer. So it's like you start gamifying, let's say, this exit ticket. You can do that at the end of a unit, for example, or at the end of the class. It depends. And what is good, what is nice about this tool, about this specific dice, is that you can change the content. The shapes, the dots. For example, if you want to add another phrase, you can do it. You can, if you want to write a command, for example, you can change one for another, okay? And for example, you can upload your own images. If you want to personalize the the die you can use. For example, you want to include pictures. So you can upload images. What I do is to edit those images in Canva. I download them and then I upload the image to the die. And you can share. You have to click on the browser and to save the direction. Okay, the link. You have to save the link in order to go back to that die that you have personalized. Okay, so there you click on plus and you can add a picture, for example, and the picture is going to upload there and you're going to have a personalized die. Okay, so that's a nice tool that you can use as an exit ticket. You can combine the use of the die with the instructions, with exit tickets and with self-assessment. Another strategy, another tool that you can use is Ziplet. Ziplet, yes, if you can share the link, the icon is has a link. I'm not going to make you enter to the tool, but it's a nice tool that creates entry and exit tickets. It's a specific tool that you can use. But the disadvantage is that you only can get 20 answers. Okay, so if you have a class of 20 students or less, so that's a suitable tool to use for your classes. And you have plenty of questions to use, plenty of ideas. You can include open questions, you can include multiple choice questions, and also these nice emojis, yeah, that students love working with, love using. And so Ziplet, that's a digital tool that you can use, an online tools that you can use. You can create an open class or a closed class. If you create an open class, students do not need to register in the website. If you create the closed class, so they should be able to register. Okay, so you have those two options. And of course that you can use other types of entry tickets, paper ones, physical entry tickets, such as the ones that you have here with emojis, where students have to circle how they feel and why, how hard they try. They have to color the stars according to what they did in class. And there are plenty of these exit tickets in the web. And we're going to share in the campus the templates of these exit tickets, okay? So there are plenty of ways to use exit tickets. Have you ever used exit tickets? Okay, I have a question here. Miss Alba, could you name the previous one? The KWL chart, you mean, or Ziplet? Okay. So have you ever used exit tickets? Okay, thanks. Exit tickets, yes. Okay, very good. Okay, it's a nice tool because you tell students, okay, if you don't complete this, the exit ticket, you don't go out to the break. Okay, the ones you print. Okay, so do you have Ziplet? That is a digital way, but it's not, that's specific for exit tickets, but you can also use collaborative boards such as Padlet or other boards or a Google Doc. There are other strategies, other tools that you can use to work with exit tickets. With the Google form, for example, the one that we use here in this workshop, okay? And we have entry tickets, exit tickets, but they are for the beginning and the end of the class. But we can also work with checkpoints. What are checkpoints? What do you think? When do you use checkpoints? Some ideas about checkpoints. You can also activate the mics if you want to speak, yes? Middle of the lesson? Yes, very good. During the process, okay, yes. For example, you're presenting a topic And after, once you finish presenting, so you check if they have understood, but without asking them, do you understand? Because sometimes they are going to tell you that yes, that they don't want to say that they don't understand. And there are some very basic tools, very simple tools and practical tools that you can use to check if they have understood something. Quizlet has a live option that is called Checkpoint. I think that many of you already use Quizlet. That is a tool that in which you create cards with concepts, with images, and with vocabulary, with grammar structures. It depends on what you are teaching. And there is a live tool, and you can use checkpoints, okay? A tool that is called Checkpoints in Quizlet. Or you can use these flip charts, okay? So you can make students, if you work in primary or in secondary school, it's the same. Even you can make them draw these cards and to store them or to keep them on the folders. For example, the green one is, I am ready for a new challenge. I don't understand this yet. And the yellow one is, I am still trying by exercising my brain, okay? And some of you wrote that you use the traffic lights. Okay, this is connected also with the traffic light. The green, I can continue, I understand. The yellow, yes, I'm not sure about that. And the red one is that I don't understand, I need to work more on this topic. And you can make them, okay, instead of saying, okay, tell me which, raise the card, okay, if you have understood, or raise checking, yes, that is the checkpoint, something practical. Or you can make them use these cards as flip charts, okay? These are called flip charts. A very practical way, okay? Instead of asking them, or maybe making them raise their thumbs, but this is more specific. I think this is a tool that you can use with your students, okay? With phrases or just with colors. Those are the checkpoints. Okay, now let's focus on this phrase written by Anthony Green. Some of the most useful feedback in the language classroom is the feedback given by students to the teacher. The best teachers seek and act on feedback from students on the quality of their teaching and how to improve it. So that's the objective of this ticket. So these very short activities that we can carry out in the classes that are going to give us effective, useful feedback to continue with the class, or to continue with the planning of succeeding classes. Okay, so the second aspect, the first aspect was diagnostics. The second is learning intentions. So what are learning intentions? They are connected with the objectives of the class, of course. And what is that? We should be clear about objectives. How can we be clear about those objectives? Describing what students are going to learn, how they are going to learn it, with which activities, how they are going to be assessed, what are going to be the criteria that are going to be used to assess students, and why. Okay, why are we going to learn this? What, how, and why? So we should be very clear with the learning intentions. And here we have some examples about using paragraphs in writing. We have the teacher version and the student's version. The teacher's versions are more specific. They use more specific vocabulary. For example, let's go to the lowest level, that is the lesson aim. The teacher's aim would be to learn how paragraphs help to sequence an argument, or to make students learn how paragraphs help to sequence an argument. And if you translate that to what students should take into account as an objective, is they would say, we are learning what a paragraph is and when to start a new one. So that is translating or making the objective simpler for students. okay? In the curricular name, for example, the version would be to show a developing understanding of how to shape written texts for different audiences and purposes. But in the students version would be, we are learning to sequence an argument, a simpler one. So we have to communicate. I think it's a must in every class, telling students, okay, today we are going to do this, we are going to learn this in this way, and because of this, because we need this in order to continue with this or to improve this aspect, it is something paramount that we have to do to make the learning intentions clear to students. Okay, and the third aspect of assessment for learning is success criteria. When we speak about criteria, we speak about rubrics, of course, but also we can negotiate success criteria or make students notice what are the criteria that we are going to use to assess them. For example, I'm going to show you an example here of class discussion about the about criteria that are going to be used in order to make a presentation. So imagine that you have to work with a presentation, and instead of telling students, okay, you are going to be assessed in these aspects. So you are just telling them and you are not interacting with the students. So you can make them think about the aspects that are going to be useful in order to create an effective presentation. So through class discussion, you can brainstorm and write down a list of ideas about what makes successful presentations. The teacher's contributions are in red in this case, in this example. And we are going to share the bibliography that we used in this presentation in the campus, of course, so that you read more specific bibliography and information in the booklet that we are going to share. Okay, so these are some ideas. You can do the brainstorming with sticky notes, as you see in these examples, or in the folders, on the board, as you wish, or using a digital tool, okay? So here we have some examples. Stand up right, speak clearly, we have to be able to hear you, use small cards for notes, make it interesting by using pictures or diagrams, and the teacher, we have to guide them through that brainstorming, of course, make them maybe working with a model, that's also important, and then extracting the specific things that are useful for a presentation, or maybe for an essay, for a piece of writing, for whatever activity that they have to do. Okay, this is the first step. The second step is negotiating the success criteria, that is sorting and categorizing. So you have done the brainstorming and you have different aspects of the presentation, and you have to categorize those different aspects into different categories, okay? So we can make them categorized with those sticky notes in the board, or in a digital tool, in a collaborative board, for example, and you have to put each of the sections of the aspects in the appropriate category. For example, speech and manner, interesting to the audience, and easy to follow. It depends on the brainstorming that you have done. And you can have this as a product, okay? So the different aspects related to the different categories. So you are using the results of the discussion, and you can make and display a chart. These negotiated criteria will form the basis of any judgments about the oral presentation. So they have created the success criteria, and you have negotiated, so they have that clear in mind. And step 4 would be add, revise, and refine the chart, the rubric. Ask students to reflect on the criteria. Do they work? Are more criteria needed? Do we need to edit or change anything? Okay, so reflecting on the rubrics that they have themselves developed. And I'm going to show you a tool that you can use for the activity, or for any other activity that you would like. This is called Linoit. Okay, so my classmates, are my colleagues, sorry, are going to share the link of Linoit. Linoit is a collaborative board, but what is nice about this is that you have sticky notes Okay, here you have on the screen an example, a screenshot of Lino that I found in the web page. It's free to use. You can create as many boards as you wish, and you have sticky notes. There is another tool that is called Jamboard. I know that many of you use Jamboard, but there are bad news about Jamboard. Jamboard is going to close at the end of this year. Okay, in the 30th of December, 31st is going to close, and we are not going to be able to use it anymore. So that's why I'm not suggesting a Jamboard that I love to use, and it's very simple, but we are not going to count with that tool anymore. But a replace for Jamboard can be Lino. Okay, it's a nice, you can browse it, and we are going to share the link also in the campus. You can also upload pictures. Okay, so here you have an activity. For example, here it seems that the topic was about food, and the teacher made students upload pictures of types of food and places, it seems, and they also had to describe, okay, the food or the place. And so this is, I suggest that you use Lino. It's free. Is Lino similar to Padlet? Okay, I'm going to show you. Yes, just a minute. We have some minutes left. Okay. I'm going to show you this, how it works. I would say that is different from Padlet. I wouldn't say it's the same. Oh, sorry, I have to log in. You can log in with Google, or you can create your username. I already have my account. And here we have some examples. And for example, if I want to create, I create a new canvas. We can also create a group and share canvases and stickies with your friends, okay? You can create groups, create a new Canva. You can use them, choose a background. You write the name, for example, assessment. And you can use it privately. You can use stickies that are the sticky notes to everyone, and everyone may post stickies, okay? And then you have other options. I want to do it to make it collaboratively. And so here you have the Canva. Yes, and you click on you can upload images. Yes, a photo, a picture. You can upload also a video here. You can upload a YouTube video or a Vimeo video. The good thing about Lino is that you can create as many Linoids as you wish, because in Padlet you have a specific number, limited number of boards that you can create. Here you have another option. You can upload a file. Okay, and if you want to write something, you just write a word, for example, just this, just you can change the color, okay, and post. Yes, and it's there. And it can be seen by everyone, and here you have a wide view of the board. Yes, it's quite big. And you can work, it's also important to know that you can work with it in the cell phone. Okay, so you give students the link through a QR code, for example, or through a WhatsApp group that you have with your students in class, and you can work, they can work on their cell phones, okay? And they do not need to register in Lino. So it's, I would say that it's another option that you can use instead of Padlet. It's different. Okay, so the third, another aspect of success criteria is exemplars and modeling. So showing students models or examples of they have to do. but also making them analyze those samples or models. I'm sure that many of you do that in class, and you can systematize this activity through this. For example, you give a model to students and you set the criteria. In this case, this is a worksheet. We are going to share also the worksheets. This is a special toolkit created for assessment for learning. So students have to read, and this is a good one, a good example of an email. And the success criteria are the first one: good organization, gives necessary information to the reader, accurate vocabulary, and grammar. Okay. And then you give different samples with different models, good ones or not so good ones. And so students have to use the same criteria to assess these models. Yes, a very simple activity that you can do in your classes, depending on the level, of course, of students. And you can adapt this to intermediate level students or A students, A1, A2, B1, B2, it depends, okay? So this is a way to use exemplars and models, modeling and exemplars. Okay, and the last topic of this part is rubrics. So let's introduce some humor. These cartoons, what do you think? Rubrics. I'm gonna need more specific feedback on my formative assessments. Okay, it says bad dog. Let's see the other, that's related to rubrics, okay? So this is another good one. What are you doing, Billy? Using rubric to evaluate supper, and that spinach makes it a below basic meal. Okay, another. And the last one that I would like to share with you. Daddy, do you like my picture? Honey, if you'd like me to be objective, I'll have to create a rubric. Okay, so rubrics helps us to be objectives and to give this formative feedback that students may need. Okay, and a question. What types of rubrics do you know? There are mainly two types of rubrics. Do you remember what they are called? How they are called? There are two basic types of rubrics. Okay, charts. Okay. Yes. More specific. There are two specific terms related to the types of rubrics. Anyone remembers? Okay, maybe you know, but you don't remember. Okay, the ones that have standards. Yes, those are the rubrics. Okay, so we can divide rubrics into analytic and analytic and holistic rubrics. Okay, someone wrote there holistic. Yes, holistic and analytic. Global and analytic. Yes, it's the same. Okay, very good. Thanks. Okay, now I'm going to show you in the first workshop, what was the topic of the first workshop? The one that was held in Centro de Convenciones Granbull. The one that was face-to-face, which was AI. It was about artificial intelligence. And Jennifer Verschuur showed you how to create a rubric. Do you remember that she used a tool? Do you remember the tool that she used?
Yes,
Which was the tool?
OpenAI.
Okay, OpenAI, okay, the ChatGPT. Okay,
ChatGPT.
and yes, okay, I'm going to show you how you can create it. We created one, but I would like to share with you how to be more specific with the prompt so that you create your own rubrics, okay? If you still don't have an account in ChatGPT, please make a new one, your account, not a new one, but create your account, your personal accounts. Okay, and I already have, okay, here you have the prompt structure. If you would like the chat to give you a specific rubric, a specific type of rubric, so you have to give the chat for everything that you ask the chat, you have to give it the right structure, the right prompt. So the basic prompt structure is this one. So you have to give the chat a role. For example, act as a history expert or a technology teacher, or act as an EFL teacher. You have to give the chat a context. A history expert who works in a modern art gallery, or a technology teacher from secondary level. And then you give the instruction. Describe the use of color in abstract painting. So that's very specific. Synthesize information about robotics, and then you have to give the instructions related to the audience. Yes, maybe for students, for first year secondary students, so that the chat uses simple language, or for specialized art audience. And you can give the chat the format. For example, for a magazine article, so the chat is going to produce a text with the format of a magazine article, or a PowerPoint presentation. You're not going to get the images, but you're going to get the different
Criteria.
text, yes, that you are going to, that can be included in each of the slides, and some suggestions about the images. I know that there is a tool called Gamma that is powered by AI, where you can create presentations with images and everything, but you can also use the chat to do that. Into paragraphs, for example, in 100-word paragraph, or in a table. Yes, so the chat can give you the rubrics in a table. I'm going to show you an example of 3 prompts that I tried with the chat, and let's see what we get. Okay, the first one is about, I wanted to create an analytic rubric. So I gave the students this prompt: act as an EFL teacher and create an analytic rubric to assess an essay on advantages and disadvantages. Include descriptors in form of questions and friendly levels of attainment. Create a rubric in a table. And I asked that, let's see if I can open the chat and show you. I think that after the first presentation, most of you already have your own accounts, I guess. Yes. Okay, I'm going to copy the prompt, and let's see what we get. Okay, so I wanted an analytic rubric about an essay on advantages and disadvantages, and I wanted questions because I think that questions are very useful for students. Okay, and the descriptors. Okay, these are the criteria. So it includes content and analysis, organization, language and mechanics, analysis depth, citation, and references. Okay, this is very academic. I can make it more. So every time you ask the chat to create something, it creates something new. Yes, it won't create the same answer for the same prompt, because I did the same, and I have here the chat, and it created a very simple one here, the analytic one here. And I like more this one, the one that it was created some weeks ago. Here we have introduction, advantages, explanation, okay, clarity. So this is simpler, okay? Maybe I include the descriptors. Maybe if I had written the level of the students, yes, it should have been simpler. Okay, so I like more this one with questions. And then I asked the chat, here I already have the result, act as an EFL teacher and create a holistic rubric to assess an essay on advantages and disadvantages for intermediate level students. Create a rubric in a table. And this is the holistic rubric that I got. So the chat can create different types of rubrics. This is a simpler to use, the holistic rubric. If you want to start with this one, it depends on the level of the students. Is divided just into some sections. Okay, and then I re-asked the chat because I wanted questions in the holistic rubric, and then I have the questions, okay, because the questions are friendlier, I think, and I have the level of attainments. Okay, so I wanted to share with you the structure of the prompt. I think that that's a very useful tool to use for creating rubrics, not only rubrics, but other things. But as this is a workshop for assessment, I wanted to share the prompt structure with you. Okay, so we have come to the end of the first part. We have finished with the first part of assessment for learning. Yes, someone asked, can you print them once they are done? Yes, of course, you can copy. You just copy and paste that in a Word document. That's quite easy. You can copy everything that is in the chat. Okay, so we are going to have our break time. In this case, a mate break. And I think that we can come back in at 11. What do you think, Cristina? Or 20 minutes? Better?
Hello, welcome back, everyone. We are just coming back from the break, and we are going to start with our first activity from this second part. So, I would like to know, on this scale of 10, how do you feel to continue with the class? So, can you share on the chat? Number 1, if you are still confused or need to go back. What about number 2? Okay. Let me see. Number 2, I need a pause for clearing doubts. Or number 3, I got everything ready to continue. Share on the chat the number. Or how do you feel to continue with the class? Okay, number 2, number 3, very good. Most of you in number 3. Great. Number 1, I'm confused. Okay, yes. Okay, remember that you are going to get all the material and we are going to share all the links to continue exploring and working with it on the campus, okay? Number 2, yes, very good. You need a pause for clearing doubts, okay, very good. Number 2, number 3, yes, most of you have chosen 3, but also we have 2 and 1. Okay, very good. Thank you very much for sharing. So we are going to continue now with the next one. And we are going to just take a look to giving effective feedback. Because as teachers, we have to give effective feedback. And we know that effective feedback is one of the most powerful contributors to learning. And we can get 2 levels of feedback in this case. We have the broader feedback, and we also have the specific feedback. We can say that the broader feedback is any communication that gives some access to other people's opinions, feelings, thoughts about one's own performance. We can say that, as the word says, broader, it's something general, okay? And just taking a look to the specific feedback, we can say that focused and specific feedback help us and help students understand learning objectives, to choose the best strategies for the task, make the course correction throughout the learning process. We can monitor their own learning. And however, we can mention that feedback is the more powerful when it is from our students to us, because feedback to teachers make learning visible. Yes, it was mentioned before. But to take into account, we also have to pay attention to
Excuse
this.
me, Cristina.
Yes.
Miss Cristina, excuse
Yes.
me. Yes, the bar where you have the tools, the tools bar.
Yeah.
We can see your toolbar in the middle. So if you can
Sorry,
move
sorry.
it.
Maybe there, is it
Yes, it's better.
better now? I'm
Yes.
sorry. That's
Okay,
right.
don't worry.
So, thank you. We are going to take a look to these 7 key elements of effective feedback, okay? Because giving effective feedback in the classroom is, we can say, a professional skill which requires experience and reflection. Given a clear feedback can make a power contribution to their students' learning. For this reason, we have, and we must consider these 7 elements, yes, which we as teachers can apply to our practices. And we are going to start with the first element. And second, there it is. The first element is called specific and clear. That's the meaning. What is this? One of the main reasons feedback is ineffective, we're going to use the opposite, is because this provides little or no information at all. General feedback, such as try harder, you can do it better next time, gives the learner nothing specific to work on. This won't provide any enough information for the students to know what to do next. So I invite you to write in the chat and share what other similar expressions do you use when you check your students' pieces of homework or classwork. Similar expressions like try harder, you can do it better next time. What other expressions do you use to check your students' piece of work? Great job. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Miss Angela. Great job too. Well done.
Needs improvement.
Okay. That's right. Keep on going. Great job. Be careful with this and that. Fantastic. Super. You can do it better. Yeah, that's right. Good work. Outstanding. Excellent. Great. That's right. Awesome. Don't give up. Well done. Very nice. Pay attention. Remember to, I like that one, revise, go on. But you are not being specific or clear. Yes, that's the point. So we are going to work on an activity now, just as giving you an example. I would like to read this. This is an example of a writing task. And I would like you to suggest a very specific and clear feedback. Using the chat box, you're going to share which type of specific and clear feedback you are going to give to these students, to this piece of writing student. Let's share on the chat. I'm going to take a look. Revise your spelling, please. Very good. You are going to be there really specific. Another idea on how to give a specific and clear feedback to this piece of homework or classwork. You can use connectors like, very good. Try to use commas next time. That's right. Yes, that's right. So now, can you see the difference? When you say just good job, try to avoid repeated words, excellent. You can use connectors, that's right. If you just say, try it again, great job, you are not telling them what to do or what are they doing better or how they can improve. Yes. So there, as you can see, teachers are sharing in the chat box some feedback, a specific and clear feedback. Yes, that is the idea. So this is the first key element to take into account when we give feedback. Remember these kinds of expressions that are not giving any information on how our students are going to continue with the work. Let's move on to the next one. Give me a second. Let's see. Here we have, and this is another example of how to give feedback. Yes. These are called 2 medals, 1 mission. Yes. And in this case, on the medals, you are going to refer to the well things done. And in the mission, there you're going to suggest what this student has to improve. I'm going to show you. This is another example that is called 2 stars and a wish. And they are models on how to give feedback to your students. So they are the stars, what things this student have done very good, and a wish, what this student has to improve. Example, here is the mission. You've written an interesting review of the film. Can you use a broader range of vocabulary so that you are not repeating the same adjective? Yes. So here we have another way of giving effective feedback, being specific and being clear. Okay, let's move to the next one. The second key element of giving effective feedback is well-timed. And we have to think, when is the best time to give feedback? And the answer could vary because it's going to depend on the proficiency of our learners, the nature of the task, and also of the type of feedback you are going to give. If you're working with beginners, yes. So in this case, and also the task is very short, you can intervene and give feedback immediately. But in other way, if you have an activity where your students are talking and the level is high and they are showing fluency, the better thing to do is not to give feedback immediately. We can do it when the activity is ready. Yes. And why this in this case? Because this gives the opportunity to our students to self-correct or just to think about what they had said or had written. And in the third place, as the third key element, very important, is to be clear, is to link the learning intention and the learning understands the success criteria. And in this case, we already talked about this and Ms. Alba shared with you the criteria. So we have to know that as teachers, we always want to, or we try not to, but we do, give too much feedback when it would be better to focus on 1 or 2 key messages. If several success criteria must be considered at the same time, for example, content, organization, and language in a writing task, it is important for us to be clear in advance what we are going to give feedback on. It is important that the criteria must be discussed and explained beforehand so our students will understand what we mean. And here also depends on how are you going to prepare the success criteria, because you can negotiate with your students, yes, what you are going to be assessed. So this is the third key element. And how many key elements do we have to give effective feedback? Do you remember? How many key elements? Thank you, Lorena. That's right. They are 7. So we are now in number 7. So number 3. So Ms. Alba is going to continue with the following.
Thanks, Cristina. I'm going to share my screen now. And let's see if I can hide the bar, because I know that it's quite bothering for participants who are watching the presentation. Okay, so up to now we have worked with 3 types of feedback. Do you remember? Because you said that there are 7, in total, but up to now we have worked with 3 of them. Can you tell me which are
Specific and
those?
clear.
Which ones?
Specific and clear, well-timed,
Okay.
and learning and success criteria.
Okay, good, very good. Okay, now we are going to continue, but with a brain break. I think that we need a brain break, and we are going to work with some instructions related to technology, because we are working with technology, and also with movement. Yes, if you want, you can activate your cameras, and if you don't want, you can still do the movements. Yes, you can follow the instructions with your body. And let's see, let's start with the first one. Raise your left hand if you have ever used ChatGPT. And you can also react. Yes, I think that Zoom has reactions. Let's see. Or in the
Yes.
chat. You can react in the chat. Yes, with an icon, with an emoji. Yes, raise your left hand if you have ever, in my case, of course. Okay, 3 participants. Okay, many of you are raising their hands. Very good. In a digital form. Okay, excellent. Okay, let's see in the chat. Okay, you can also do that in the chat. Very good. Okay, let's continue with the second. Raise your right hand if you have ever done a TikTok. No, I haven't done a TikTok. Okay, you're raising your hands. Very good. Raise your right hand. No. Or use the emoji, react in the chat. No, no, never. Yes, I have never. But okay. But it's a good tool. I think it's a good tool to use it in our classes, not only for fun. Okay, great. Very good. Let's continue with the other. Raise both hands if you have ever used Google Classroom. Okay, in my case, of course, I still use Google Classroom in some context where I work. Okay, very good. Many of you use Google Classroom. I'm checking the answers. Okay, you are using other emojis. Great. Very good. Okay, let's continue with the other. React with the party emoji. Okay, if you are on your cell phones. If you cannot be more than an hour without checking your social media. It's my case. Okay, so react with the party emoji if you cannot be more than an hour without checking your social media. Okay, so react. Okay, many of you. Yes, with the party. Yes, okay, thanks. Thanks for participating. Very good. Okay, let's continue with another. React with a heart emoji if you have ever done a tutorial. Okay, with a heart emoji. With a heart emoji if you have ever done a tutorial. Yes, react in the chat. Okay, good. You're using different colors for the hearts. Excellent. Good, yes. In 2020, surely you have created your tutorials. I have created some tutorials and I still use them. They became very useful. Okay, very good. Now the last one. Yes, do you know what the word stock means? Stock. Do you know what the word stock means? Can you write what the word stock means? The chat, what's the meaning of stock? Yes, that one that you wrote, S-T-A-L-K, stock.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Supply. Yes, because some may not know. Yes, what stock means. Okay, a synonym for stock. How would you define stock? Spy. Okay, can be. Spy.
Check on somebody else's in social media.
Yes, that is. Okay, someone writes as a chat. Sorry, I heard stock. No, that's stock. This is stock. Okay, gossip people. Okay, that is like investigating about other people's profiles on social media. A more professional and academic way to describe stock. Okay, so the last instruction has to do with this activity. Okay, so react with a surprise emoji if you have ever stalked someone. Okay, I would like. Okay, react with the surprise emoji if you have ever stalked someone. To lurk around someone else's profile. Okay, that's a nice definition. Okay, react with the surprise. Nobody? Ah, okay, you are reacting. Okay, thanks. Okay, very good. Not many people. Okay, here. Okay, I think it's something very common. Okay, very good. Okay, thanks. Okay, now, are you ready to continue? Good, thanks for your participation. Now, let's continue with the type of feedback number 4. Okay, number 4 is about focus feedback. Yes, effective feedback focuses on the task rather than on the learner. Okay, what is this? Let's see an example of this. So you're going to tell me which examples focus on the task and which ones on the learner. So you have to give feedback that is focused on the activity. Okay, so great ideas. What do you think? On the learner or on the task? On the learner, the first one, great ideas. Task. Okay, yes, task. That focuses on the task because, for example, the student used great ideas in a piece of writing. Okay, great. Now, let's see. So this is good. You always have problem with pronouncing that word. Don't you try? What about this one? What do you think? That focuses on the learner or on the task? Yes, it focuses on the learner. Yes, because you're telling him, okay, you're having a problem with pronunciation. Yes, maybe you're telling that's too personal. We can change. Yes, we can change this statement and focus maybe on the task. How can we change it? What do you think? How can we change that way? So, so it focuses on the task, on the activity. How can you change this statement instead of focusing on the learner? What can be an alternative for this sentence?
For the second one, sorry?
For the second, yes. Yes, because it focuses on the learner. And
yeah, probably practicing on the word or taking out the you in the sentence.
Okay, maybe. Shall we correct pronunciation? Okay, that's, yes, including you, because you're going to help the student. Let's choose another word instead of that. Okay, let's try.
Maybe saying
yes.
Maybe saying that the pronunciation of this word is difficult, let's blah, blah, blah.
Yes, I like that. Okay, yes, very good. Yes, you are showing empathy towards the learner. Excellent. Okay, now let's see the other. Your writing is quite messy. Can you try? So this is focused on the activity or on the learner? Okay, you are, yes, also I could think that is also on the learner because it says your writing. You're using the your, yes, you are giving possession of that piece of writing to the learner. And if you say your and then you say messy, so it means you are messy when you write. So how can we change that? And focus on the task.
Try to improve the writing.
Okay, the organization of the ideas, of the sentences, maybe. Okay, let's continue. And with the last one, you haven't done all the questions. You are a very slow reader. Okay, that's more evident here. That focuses, okay, thanks, on the learner. Yes, that focuses. Telling the students you are very slow. No, we shouldn't say that. That's not the appropriate way to give feedback. So we should always focus on the task. So let's start reflecting on how we give tasks, give feedback to students. If we focus on the you, on the, we give adjectives to students, or we always try to focus on the task. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5 is about learning cues. Effective feedback gives prompts at the right levels on how to move learning forward. Okay, so we should use language that is appropriate, appropriate or suitable for the level of the students. Okay, so that is using the right language. Okay, let's see, there are different types of learning cues, and there are different types of feedback. For example, let's see the first one. What does X mean? How do you know? This is an example of process feedback. Why process? Because it allows the students to continue with the process of reading in this case. Okay, you are asking the student how he manages or she manages to know the meaning of that word. Maybe by deducing, you're making him reflect about the process. Okay, you're asking about the process. You're focusing on the process. Okay, then we have this type of self-regulatory regulatory feedback, and it says, how can you use the title of the article before you start reading? And that has to do with metacognition, metacognitive skills. You are asking the student so how he can use elements before reading a text, the title, the pictures, how he can predict the content of the article before starting reading. So that question is related to metacognition, metacognitive skills, with the process of learning or with the process of reading in this case. And the last one, it says, underline the examples the writer gives. Okay, you are just given an instruction, a specific instruction, and that's related to informational feedback, because you're just giving him information about what he has to do in order to focus on the examples, on the kind of examples that the writer gives. This is very specific types of feedback. I'm going to show you another chart where you have different types of expressions and related to the different levels of feedback. Level 0 is called preemptive. That is, teach rather than wait to give feedback on predictable failure. Because sometimes you know, because of your experience, you know that when writing an essay, for example, or writing a paragraph, students are going to miss transition words, something very common, or they are going to use some words that are not suitable. Okay, you predict that they are going to make those mistakes. So you, as you know by your experience, so you teach rather than wait to give feedback. Okay, rather than wait for students to make that mistake. You advise them, you warn them in advance about that. Level 1 is corrective. Yes, that is giving them an example prompt. Clarify what the student is attempting to learn by providing concrete examples, such as, here are 2 ways you could organize your report. Okay, that is just giving them the framework of something. Level 2 is process feedback, scaffolding the prompt. Give students who are struggling with concepts or skills more structure. That is, giving students more tools to write something, to create a presentation, for example. What does the speaker want the listener to do? Does she succeed, for example? The level 3 is about process and self-regulation techniques. For example, a reminder prompt when you say they are writing and in the middle of the activity you say, remember that the conclusion should link back to the topic in the opening paragraph. Okay, reminding students what they need to do. And the last level that's related to metacognition and those skills and those learning strategies that they should develop in classes, that's called provocative prompt. When learners have met the success criteria, encourage them to reflect. That is about reflecting or asking questions about their process of learning, process of writing, of speaking, making a presentation, yes, their process of learning. So you have different levels of feedback that you can provide, different prompts that you can provide. Okay, and we have come to number 6, that is about strategies. Yes, provide students with the strategies, not solutions. Okay, so in that way you are making them more autonomous and you are empowering students. Effective feedback offers strategies rather than solutions. And can you answer this question in the chat? How can you encourage students to reflect on and so improve their written work? Imagine that you are working with a specific written task, and how can you encourage students to reflect and so to improve their written work? Don't give students solutions, yes, just strategies. You can ask questions such as, why not? How? Remember higher order thinking skills that I mentioned in the first part? Use those types of questions. Okay. So what type of questions would you use in this case? Self-regulation in writing. Questions that would aim at developing learning strategies related to written tasks. I read you in the chat if you have some ideas of questions. Don't give solutions, but strategies, making them reflect about their process of learning. Let's think about some questions. They may start with how and with why, okay? Have you? Okay. That can be a good start. I would prefer open questions. Or have you included? Okay. Or I would have, how can you include transition words? How can you include transition words so that your paragraph can be read smoothly? Okay, this is quite a difficult. I can make it simpler, yes, or you can make it simpler. I always prefer WH questions, open questions. Why don't we try this? Okay, I like that. Let's read some examples. How can the concluding paragraph start with? Okay, good. Can you try another? Very good. Okay, I would prefer open questions. Always prefer so that students can elaborate answers. Yes, because if you always ask yes, no questions, they are going to say yes or no, or that those can be used just to start the interaction. Okay, thanks. Thanks for your contributions. I see that you are writing, very good. Okay, and we have come to the last type of effective feedback, actionable and achievable. And I'm going to show you a diagram that is very useful to bear in mind. So effective feedback challenges requires action and is achievable. What we have seen in a type of feedback that Ms. Cristina explained to you, that was about the 2 stars and a wish, 2 medals and a mission. Okay, that is giving them the aspect that they have done well, yes, that they have achieved, but something else to do to improve. Okay, and here I'm going to show you this graphic that shows a comfort zone, a learning zone, and a panic zone. This guideline about effective feedback is about feedback that can be achievable and actionable. So if you give students something to do or feedback that is beyond their level, but quite beyond what they can do, that can be placed in the panic zone. And if you just tell them, okay, very well, yes, this is great. Yes, that's in the comfort zone. You're not giving him anything else to do. But the challenge is to give them the right feedback so that they are placed in the learning zone. Okay, so let's see the examples, and you're going to tell me where would you place these phrases, these types of feedback. First, let's see A. First, think about what you can say to be more polite when you refuse the invitation. Where do you think that this type of feedback can be placed? In the panic zone, in the learning zone, or in the comfort zone? You can write in the chat, or you can activate your mics.
Learning zone.
The learning, okay. Other learning zone, first thing. Okay, you are giving panics, and some say learning zone. First, think about what you can say to be more, and when you refuse the invitation, okay, let's see. Yes, that is in the learning zone. Very good, because you're giving the students some tools, yes, of something that they have to do in the conversation. Yes, this was a speaking activity, paired conversation about an invitation. And maybe the students have used phrases that are not so polite to refuse the invitation. So it's very specific feedback. Okay, now let's go to the others. Make sure you say thank you for the invitation when you explain you can't go. Where would you place this type of feedback? Panic zone or comfort zone? There are two missing.
Comfort zone.
Yes, because you are giving the right answer. The solution. Remember, give strategies, not solutions. That's the comfort zone. Very good. Okay, and let's see. And the last one is think carefully about how you are answering your friend and be polite. Okay, that's like too much for
Panic.
the level of the students. Okay, that's in the panic zone. Okay, so I think that the 7 types of feedback, the objective of presenting these types of feedback was to make you reflect on the feedback that you are given to students and checking if you are doing things in the right way. I'm sure that you are doing things in the right way, and correct or realizing what you can change, okay? Little by little. Okay, thanks for participating. And we have come to the end of these 7 types of feedback. And I'm going to show you another strategy. For example, you give feedback to students. Okay, the feedback goes here. Yes, this is a worksheet that we are going to share with you. And students have to write the learning intention here, the objective, what were we trying to learn? And so they should, as you are not giving students the solution, what they should do, just strategies. So they have to write, based on the feedback, the different strategies or activities or things that they have to do in order to reach the learning intention. Okay, I think this is quite visual and quite appropriate for students. Of course, it depends on the level. And here you have an example. The feedback is, or let's see the objective, using paraphrases in writing. And number 2, vocabulary chunks and collocations, using those types of items, vocabulary items. And the feedback is need to remember and use a wider range of paraphrases for basic vocabulary. So how can I get there? Yes, how can I get there? So students have to reflect and go through those stepping stones. What are the steps that we can follow in order to reach that aim? And here we have some examples. Watch YouTube videos on my key topic and write down words that go together. That can be a strategy, watching a video, specific video. Write down collocations in 2 columns and test myself covering 1 column. So here, that's just an example so that you know how to implement this worksheet, this activity. Okay, so yes, now we have come to the end of these 7 types of feedback. And in the first part, let's review. We have talked about what assessment for learning and of learning are. We have also reviewed some types of assessment procedures, instruments. We have worked with the pyramid. Do you remember the pyramid with the 3 aspects of assessment for learning? Do you remember? Can you tell me through the mic or in the chat? Do you remember the 3 aspects of assessment for learning?
diagnostic,
Yes.
learning intentions,
Mhm. And diagnostics,
Success
okay.
criteria.
Which one?
Success
criteria.
criteria.
Yes, I'm right. I'm reading in the chat. Yes, you're right. Very good, very good. Excellent. So we have 3 pillars, and in the middle, we have feedback, something very important to improve. And in the second part, we have dealt with the 7 types of feedback, very specific. Okay, so now we're going to work in groups, and we're going to work with problems that we may encounter in this process of assessing students, in the process of giving feedback. We are going to share a PowerPoint, yes, with common difficulties, and you are going to suggest solutions based on your experience. So you will be given some common difficulties that teachers may have with assessment for learning and feedback, and you are going to provide some solutions. And you are going to be divided into, there are 18 slides. So if you are group 1, you have to go to slide number 2. Why? Because slides number 1 is the cover, yes? And you are going to have 6 different problems that are duplicated, or yes, they are repeated 3 times so that you have different types of problems. So one group is going to be in charge of one problem, and you're going to write the suggested, you're going to discuss and write the suggested solutions in the PowerPoint. Okay, everyone can edit that PowerPoint. I'm going to show you my classmate. Do you have any questions before going to the breakout rooms? Okay, that's my colleagues are sharing the presentation, and as you can see, slides number 1, it says problem 1, and you have the problem and you write the solutions, just your ideas on the slides. So when you are divided into groups, and you are assigned a number by Zoom. So you have to stick to that number. You're going to be divided into 18 groups. There are 18 slides. So you choose the one that corresponds to your to the number of your group. Remember that slides number 2 would be 1. Yes, because 1 is the cover. Okay, so now I think if you don't have any more questions, you're going to the breakout rooms, or you're going to have 10 minutes first. And if you need more time, we are going to give you 5 more minutes. Okay. So you have there, you have to wait for the message so that you can join your group. Okay. You have room 1. So room 1 is going to edit slide number 2. Room 2, 3. Okay. So choose the right slide for your group. Right, you are joining the different groups. Please join the discussion, write the suggested solutions. Don't add more slides, please. You already have all the slides ready.
Okay, just waiting for Miss Guadalupe, Maria Laura to join breakout room 1. Waiting for Carolina and Diana for breakout room 2. Thank you. Room number 5 is already completed. Room number 6, waiting for Alina. Breakout room number 7, waiting for Ignacio and Teresa Vázquez. Room 8 is ready. Room number 9, waiting for Fernanda. Room 10 is completed. Room number 11, waiting for Mariela. Room number 12, Fernanda Ansieta and Fernanda Michelle. Miss Vanessa is waiting for you. And Miss Paola, you must enter room number 13. Waiting for Elisa, room number 15. Waiting for Claudia Huertas, room number 16. Mr. Erickson, room 17 is waiting for you.
Sorry, Alba, could I ask on if the people who are on the breakout room number 10 could type their last name? So I've forgotten to write that on the slide.
Yes, please. Yes, remember to write your names, okay, in each of the slides. Okay, so we are coming back to the main room, and I see that many of you have reflected on the problem and have suggested solutions. So who would like to share what you have been talking about in the breakout rooms? If anyone can share, can open the mic, participate. About problem 1, 2, you had 6 problems to reflect on. So you can share what you have been talking about. It seems that you have been discussing a lot in some of the groups. For example, in number 1, who would like to share? Because I see that you are busy writing. Yes?
I'm from group 8, and
Group
we've been
8.
working with problem 2. Yes.
This problem? Are you in this group?
Problem 2.
The one that I'm showing?
No. No.
Problem.
Problem 2.
Number 2.
It's slide 9, I think. Yes, slide 9.
9. Okay, it's better.
Yes.
Okay, slide 9. Okay, good. Yes.
So the problem was the parents of the children I teach don't understand the value of the qualitative feedback I give their children. They just want to see a mark or grade. So we thought that it would be great to plan in advance what does a particular mark means, so that it can help children to explain that at home. But just to explain that to their parents, but during classes, being sure that they understand what is it that we are doing and why is it that they are having their grades. And also create rubrics that may simplify for the parents to understand the qualitative feedback, because it's understandable that they want to see a number there, so that they might mean something. I mean, like common mistakes that they've been doing during the classes, so that for students it is clear what is it that they are doing wrong, even though they just have a grade at the end of the unit or the test or whatever.
Okay, thanks. Okay, very good. That is describing what the mark means. Very good, very good. So it means that you have developed some solutions. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Okay, any other group would like to share the suggested solution?
Alba, we've been working with Remy Cedran and Angela Rogeri, I think, and I don't recall who else, on slide number 11 with problem
Number
4.
11, let's see. Okay, good. Okay, what was the problem?
About peer assessment.
Mm-hmm.
We suggested like a guideline in order to approach peer assessment in a better way. So we established like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at least guidelines. The first one is establish a clearer criteria common to all students, to make a guideline in the, that is structured in some form, to make explicit the purpose and emphasize the opportunity to help others, to ensure the anonymity, so as to encourage honest feedback, and students don't know who are they working on, whose paper or activities they are working on.
Okay.
And to monitor the process and set communication grounds in order to avoid rude or violent comments, and reward the productivity to stimulate the process and its importance, the importance of the process to work as a whole.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, and then you suggest using a chart with emojis.
Yes, but as I am reading, I think that we overlapped with another group.
Ah, okay. Okay, good. So I like the set of guidance because they are very specific and you included many aspects that are important when you give students the works of other partners. Okay, great. Now let's continue with one more example. Any other group I would like to share what you have discussed in the breakout rooms? Would
Alba?
like to share? Yes.
Well, I share groups with 3 other colleagues. Sorry, I don't remember the name.
Okay.
We had problem number 2. We were group number 14. And we agreed that
This
maybe
light?
would be good. No, we were number 14. I imagine that we had slide number 15, isn't it?
Okay. Yes.
Yes, that
This
one, that one. Okay, so our opinion is the first one. I don't know. There is another group maybe that, well, so we think that in order to talk with parents that are not happy with maybe the grades that we give students, it would be very useful to provide a rubric at the beginning of the year or at least after the diagnosis process in which we let them know what are our expectancies for the course and what are the things that their kids would have to do in order to pass the course. Yes, not only maybe
Yes.
a formal test, because sometimes when we make tests for kids, the written ones, and let's suppose someone gets a 9, but what happens? Maybe that person doesn't have a record of his or her work in the class, or that person doesn't participate or whatever. So in the report card, we don't give him or her a 9. That is what parents expect sometimes.
Yes.
So I think they should know that in order to pass the course, in order to get the 10 they expect, kids will have to do some other things apart from the formal testing.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That is communication, to open a channel of communication with parents and explain them about the
Yes.
assessment procedures that you're going to use along the year. Very good. Yes.
Yes. And I think a rubric would be great for that.
Yes. Yes, a comprehensible rubric. Okay. Thanks, Maria. Thanks for sharing. Any other group would like to share the solutions to some problems that we have posed? Okay, any other? Group 1, perhaps, would like to share. I see that you have shared a lot of solutions, and the problem was about large classes. The problem was, I have 30 children in my class, I don't have time, or I don't know all the children well enough to give each one personalized feedback. Who would like to share? Someone would like to share the answers that you provided for problem 1?
I can do it, but can you listen to me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss Selena?
Yes. So
Okay.
we decided that we have a 30 children in our class. So it's a large number. So we decided to do many things in order to see them not only work in class, but also to see how they react in our class. So we tried to join all the tips you did or you suggested. For example, the entry ticket as well as the exit one. Then checkpoints, post-its, but of course we can use them in different classes during the same unit. So that was an idea that we had a suggested in this slide. Because sometimes it's difficult to give them a personalized personalized feedback in each class. So we can do it in different classes. So we suggested this solution. The checkpoints during the class, as well as the post-its. We can organize them in group or per group and their pair check-in, as well as multiple choice activities. So as to see if they understood, if they have understood or not what we were dealing in class. Something that was important for us was, we know, because we have never used it before. So probably we want to do it in our courses. Probably, I don't know if this year or probably next year, but we can include it in our classes as well. So this is what we use, also Padlet, many others.
Yes.
So it's sort of brainstorming of what are the instruments that we can use in our class.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Ms. Alina, for participating. Yes, that's you can work in groups. That's important, and or you can also work or give specific feedback or focus on a specific number of students week by week. Okay, for example, this week I'm going to focus on these students the second week so that everyone receives feedback, okay, and try to solve that problem of having a large number of students. Okay, so I would like to continue, yes, with, this is the last activity that we have planned for today. And we are going to share my screen again, and something to, we hope that we have, you have reviewed assessment, types of assessment. I'm sure that you have dealt with this in your initial teacher formation. And this is a way to review and also to add more elements to this very important process that is assessment. Okay, some things, pieces of news that we would like you to know, that next workshop is going to be face-to-face. We're going to share the flyer in the group, of course, and in the campus. This is the last workshop, and it's going to be face-to-face in the same place of the first workshop that was in Centro de Convenciones Granburg, that is inside Casa de Gobierno in Barrio Granburg, and it's going to be the 3rd of November. It's a Friday. It's going to be in the morning from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there will be Indira Bakshi will be the highlighted speaker. She's the English language fellow sponsored by the U.S. Embassy. And it will be a pleasure to have her and to deliver a workshop about inclusion on Friday. Okay, we hope that most of you will be present there. You have to be sure to get your numbers, because there will be a raffle at the end of the presentation, as you are used to when you attend Isicana's workshops. Okay, so we hope that everybody can go there. Okay, that is a workshop that is specific for the members, for the participants of this course of maximizing English language learning with ICT in the digital area. This is a specific. And there will be another workshop that will be delivered on Saturday, the 4th in the morning in Colegio Nacional. You are going to share also the invitation in the group and in social media, and you can also register there if you want to participate. That's a separate seminar that it is also going to be sponsored by the U.S. Embassy and Ministerio de Educación de Salta and Isicana, and it will have 20 hours, and it will have 1 point if you want to participate and complete the activities. So it is open. There will be a place for 100 participants. So if you want to participate in that seminar, you are free to do it. But the one that is compulsory for you is the next one, that is the 3rd of November. Okay, so any questions about this? Because we have come to the end of the class. Okay, and the activities from module 4 from this workshop will be available on Monday or Tuesday. Yes, give us time to arrange everything in the campus so that you have everything ready. The recording, unfortunately, we had a problem with the recording of workshop 3. That's why you don't have it available in the campus. We did everything to recover it, but we couldn't. We hope that we can share the recording of this session. And remind you that we are going to post within workshop 4 activities, the final project, and it's going to be due more or less in 2 weeks' time. We will give you time to complete that final project, and the activities, remember that we gave you 2 weeks to complete that makeup period to complete the missing activities from modules 1, 2, 3, and also 4 that they will be posted during this week. Okay, so I hope that everybody can complete the activities so that you can get to the end of the course. Okay, so we're going to finish with a checkpoint or a kind of exit ticket, and you're going to tell me in the chat on the scale of feel, how do you feel by the end of the class? I understand so well that I can explain the topics to someone. I got it, but I need to practice and review. I am not so sure. I need some help. Okay, so let's see in the chat what you write. 1, 2, or 3. Okay, 2. That's great. I'm happy with that. Very good, very good. Okay, I got it. Okay, you need more review. We are going to share the bibliography, the specific bibliography, which is great. Very good, very good. Yes, a formal note for our team. What's that? Okay, okay, great, great. Thanks. Thanks for that. Okay, you know that it's nice to use these strategies to check understanding, yes, these checkpoints that I use, the exit, the entry tickets, we use the entry ticket, the exit tickets, and along the course, we have used many tools that can be used for assessment. Remember in module 1, which tools we have used in the campus and also in the workshops. Do you remember? Can you write in the chat which tools did we use to interact with the specific tools? Because sometimes we don't, let's say, present or teach the tools in the workshop, but you work with them in the campus, okay? So that's also, you get in touch, you try and you experience the app or the tool. Do you remember the tools that we have? Scan codes, yes, always. Okay, scan codes, quizzes, very good. Okay, which other tools have we used up to now? In the campus or in the workshops? Wordwall, Padlet. Okay, you see that we have used Flip, Lino. Okay, we are going to use Lino in the workshop, in the campus, Lino, Padlet. Padlet, we use Padlet to share
Jamboard.
things. Jamboard, okay, with exit tickets, you see? Jamboard is great. Entry links for different games, okay. ThingLink, very good. And that was an optional activity, but many of you created nice ThingLinks. Thanks. Okay, any other? Bluecat. I think that you were quite motivated by Bluecat. That is a great tool, a gamifying tool. Quizzes, Flip, okay, the app. That is great to create groups with the students. Lino, okay, thanks. So you see that we have used many tools because this course is centered on the methodology, on how to teach English in different aspects, but integrating the tools, integrating with the pedagogical objective. Okay, that's the idea, that we integrate, but looking for the practical way to use it, and also in order to improve and to develop students' digital competencies. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, now we are going to share as usual. Okay, any questions? Thanks for participating. Thanks for my colleagues which were present today helping us, Miss Claudia Corimayo, the academic director of ISICANA, Claudia Yapura, that was moderating the chat, helping you in the group. Also, Miss Fernanda Peralta, Lourdes Ruiz was also present, and Miss Cristina Villagra, who helped us here or who was part of this presentation. Thank you very much. I think that I'm not forgetting anyone from the team. Okay. Flipsimo, yes, you're writing, yes. We also worked with the die that can be personalized. Okay, so we're going to share, if we are ready, we're going to share the QR code. Remember to scan the code and complete the exit ticket and the details in the correct way, because you're the one who creates the certificate, yes, the attendance certificate. Okay, there you have the QR code. If you, when you complete that, you are ready to leave, okay? You can disconnect and you leave, okay? Once you complete, check that you have gotten the certificate and you can disconnect and see you next Friday. Yes, we are going to meet each other face to face and we are going to have a great time next Friday. Please don't be absent.